Welcome back. All right, so today I want to talk about the top two teams in the National Hockey League and two of the reasons why everybody talks about how good the East is. One of these teams is not going to be the top seed in the East, which is weird because Boston and New Jersey both have points percentages that lead you to think, well, that should be the number one team in that conference. And it likely doesn't continue at this rate. And I know people don't want to, don't like that. Like, oh, you're just trying to rain on the parade. No, just historically, these are really high numbers, and so eventually there's going to be some kind of period where maybe for 5-10 games they lose some games here and there. In Boston's case right now, oddly enough, at the start of the year we were talking about the big injuries, right? The big players that were out, which was guys like Marchand, McAvoy. There was debate about how well Bergeron, Krejci might play. Krejci having not been in the NHL for the last year. And Grzelcyk was out. They missed Carlo at points. Like it's been ridiculous how good they've been. And for New Jersey, a team picked by most, myself included, not even to be a playoff team, and here they are, one of the top two teams in the National Hockey League. And trying to pick which one of the two is actually the best right now is not easy. So let's go through this. We'll look at the records. First off, they're very similar. 21-3-1 for Boston. Points percentage is .860, which is insane. For New Jersey, they're 21-4-1. Their points percentage .827, which just shows how quickly that points percentage can drop because it's ridiculously high. Their home records, well, that favors Boston. They're 14-0-1. The home record for New Jersey, 10-3-1, which is not pedestrian. But you look at the away records, and New Jersey's got Boston beat there. Boston's 7-3 away from home. New Jersey's 11-1. Goal scoring per game, that favors Boston, 3.96 to 3.69. Goals against also favors Boston. They're allowing 2.08 goals per game. New Jersey's allowing 2.19. But they're still elite on both sides. For New Jersey, the goal differential is a goal and a half per game. So to say, well, it's not as good as Boston's. Well, yeah, Boston's is almost 2. So, yeah, either way, if you have these guys on your schedule, it's not going to be a fun time. So where are we going to find the differential? All right, maybe it's in the record against the East. No. Boston's 11-3 against the East. New Jersey's 11-4. How about against the West? Absolutely not. Both teams are 10-0-1 against the other conference. So that doesn't tell us really a whole lot, does it? In October, Boston's 8-1, New Jersey's 6-3. So Boston was better in October. Then in November, Boston's 11-2 and New Jersey's 13-1. So I guess by the numbers, New Jersey's better, although 11-2 is pretty darn good too. And then this month, thus far, as I'm recording this, both teams are 2-0-1. So there is very, very little to choose between these two teams. You get into the special teams numbers, they do favor Boston. 28.4% on the power play. New Jersey's 20.7% on the power play. Not that New Jersey's numbers are bad. You look at the penalty kill, Boston 85.3%, New Jersey 82.1%. So those two numbers add up on the New Jersey side. I've talked about Buffalo so much, I just assumed Buffalo's going to come up in a video. And now I've said the name so much that, yeah, it did kind of come up in a video. 102.8 is the added number for New Jersey, which is good. On the Boston side, 113.7. So that's where Boston's kind of got that elite status. Anything above 110 is considered elite when you add power play and penalty kill together. So Boston has that. And so you could look at these numbers and say, so Boston's the better team, right? We'll go through the lineup and I'll point out where I think either team has an advantage. And then you look at the shots per game. This actually favors New Jersey. On the Boston side, they're getting 34.9 shots. They're allowing 29.2. For New Jersey, they're getting 35.1 shots. They're allowing 26.4. Now, there's scoring chances and all that. I guarantee the scoring chances favor Boston and New Jersey both. And they're probably pretty darn close. So when we look at all that, there's a slight nod towards Boston. But it's only ever so slight. Like, these are the kinds of numbers that 2 or 3 games, one way or the other, could change it, right? It's a couple of games where Boston struggles to score. New Jersey gets 6 goals a game. The numbers can change. So let's take a look at the lineups. These are lines I got from Daily Faceoff. So if they're not 100% exactly what the teams are using at this moment, it's understandable. Line changes happen all the time. And it feels like right now in the National Hockey League, we have less defined lineups than ever. And I think this is the new reality of the NHL. It is a 4-line league. Every team plays 4 lines. And these two teams might have the best 4 lines in the NHL. That might be part of the reason why we're where we're at. And that's a debate we can certainly have at another time. So we'll look at Boston here first. Marchand, Bergeron, and DeBrusk. Now, DeBrusk being there instead of Pastrnak, I think, has helped. I absolutely do. I've always been one to say, you know what, this whole perfection line thing, that's great. But when Pasta's on another line, you're getting goals from more than one line, right? On the New Jersey front, they've got Tatar, Hischier, and Bratt. Tatar's having a really remarkable season. The goals have started going in for him as well. Bratt, of course, had that amazing point streak to start the season, and Nico Hischier's emerging as really their version of Patrice Bergeron. Both of them, well known as two-way forwards. Bergeron, arguably, and I don't know how arguable it is. I think that you're not going to get much argument if you say the best defensive center / forward in the NHL over the last 20 years, Bergeron. And I think we can get some agreement on that. I think we would get some argument, but we can get some agreement. But Hischier's trending in that direction. One thing that stands out: Marchand, Bergeron, both north of 30. The players for New Jersey, I think Tatar's north of 30, but not as old as Marchand and Bergeron. But anyways, that's one of the key things here too. New Jersey's generally the younger team. On the Boston side, Zacha, who played last year for New Jersey. Krejci and Pastrnak. So Krejci, of course, on the older side. Pastrnak, he's got a contract that's due this year. Maybe that's going to propel him to career high totals. We do talk about how guys in contract years can have great years. On the New Jersey side, you get Haula, who was traded for Zacha last year and has played well, with Hughes and Mercer. Hughes and Mercer have a very strong chemistry with one another. It's not completely dissimilar to what we see with Suzuki and Caulfield in Montreal. And with Hughes and Mercer, they're young. They could do this for a long time to come. Whereas Krejci, above 35 years of age. And so on the Boston side, there's some more experience, and that might help, right? Younger players can be prone to some more mistakes, so maybe that makes up some of the differences that would lean towards Boston, right? But one question mark could be, all right, so if it's an older team, does that mean that as we get further into the season, and the NHL grind can be really difficult, does it favor the young upstarts in New Jersey, or do they just start making more rookie mistakes and you see Boston pull away? There's a question. Third line, you've got Hall on the third line in Boston. He's playing very, very well. So is Coyle, and Trent Frederick, I believe, also has 6 goals. So that's a really strong third line for the Boston Bruins. But New Jersey's not to be outdone here. Wood's been very good this season after missing almost every game last year, which was an injury that I think was underrated in its impact on the New Jersey Devils, because he's having a big impact right now. You've got McLeod, third line center, has played well, and you've got Zetterlund, who has been remarkable. He, of course, is in the rookie scoring race, and so it's possible Zetterlund gets into the conversation when it comes to the Calder by the end of the year as well. And then you get to the fourth lines, and I think this is where you see the depth. So you have Foligno, who's had a very good first third of the season. You've got Nosek, good, solid fourth liner. And you've got Craig Smith. Now, Craig Smith has had his struggles, and at times he's been a healthy scratch. But he's on the fourth line. And so this is a skilled player who would be on the third line on a lot of other teams. Fourth line here. Foligno, I think, would be third line on other teams as well. He cleared waivers before the season started. He had a rough year last year. But Foligno, there's no reason to waive him now. And I don't know if he would clear. Maybe, probably, because of the fact that there's half the league at the cap. And then there's other teams that aren't quite at the cap that if they picked up Foligno would be. Then you get to the fourth line of New Jersey. And again, the ridiculous depth. Sharon Govich. Excellent forward. Could score 20, 25 goals this year. Absolutely, easily. Boquist. Good, solid, hardworking forward. And you got Holtz. Holtz, a number 7 draft pick a few years back. And absolutely could be a goal-scoring force for this team. at some point down the road, too. The depth that both teams have up front is insane. I like the youthful energy here. I like the experience here. I can't decide between the forward groups. I'm going to be honest because I like the youthful energy here, and I do think there's going to be some rookie mistakes here and there. But on this side, I do wonder about, as that game, as the schedule is as brutal as it is, when we get injuries, how things are going to go for Boston. So again, you guys can tell me which lineup up front you think is better. Then we get to the blue line. And it is tough to pick on the blue line, too, because I think they've got this figured out pretty well. You got Lindholm, who's been absolutely lights out for Boston. Fantastic. McAvoy as well has been very good since coming back from injury. Above a point per game at this stage. You've got Grzelcyk and Carlo. Very solid second duo right there. Grzelcyk, of course, coming back from injury and has looked very good so far this year. His defensive numbers have been good. There's some offense there as well. Forbort and Clifton. I'm more comfortable with Forbort as the third pairing than I was as the second pairing. Very, very good depth here. This is why Vakanainen gets traded last year because there just wasn't room for him on the lineup. And Connor Clifton kind of put him out of that position. Clifton's been quite good. So the blue line for Boston is good. And while I did talk last year a lot about, the offense, where's the offense going to come from? Lindholm, McAvoy, absolutely answer that question. There's enough there with Grzelcyk that, yes, the offense on the blue line's pretty good. So we'll come over to the New Jersey side. Siegenthaler, one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. Really good defensive defenseman, and he's perfectly paired with Dougie Hamilton because Dougie Hamilton is offense, right? There's some defense there. It's not that he doesn't come back and play defense. You do kind of have to as a defenseman. But Siegenthaler can cover up for any kind of deficiencies that might be in Hamilton's game. Then you've got Graves and Marino. Graves has been fantastic since they added him, and Marino has been nothing short of a revelation for the New Jersey Devils since coming over from Pittsburgh. Absolutely fantastic first third of the season for Marino. There's some offense there as well that he wasn't showing as much in Pittsburgh before the trade. And then you've got Brendan Smith, and you've got Severson as your third pairing. So for New Jersey fans who weren't a big fan of Severson and the prominent role he had previously, well, now he's on the third pairing. So it's not a big deal, right? Severson isn't going to cost them. If you believed he was costing you guys last year, you're not going to think that as much this year because he's on the third pairing. He's not getting those same minutes. He might be a guy who ends up getting traded, but they have the depth. They have depth on the blue line to deal with it if that did in fact happen. I don't think it does, but we'll see. Then you get to the goaltending, and this is the great unknown for me, honestly, because Ullmark is paid very well. Ullmark's playoff resume is very short, though. Swayman, and I love Swayman, got the Swayman jersey, been a fan of Jeremy Swayman the whole time. He has had a couple of shaky games this year, not a lot, but a couple. And so, I like the goaltending tandem. I do wonder, when we get to playoffs in April and May, is there one goaltender there who would take Boston to a second, third, fourth round, and fourth round, of course, being the Cup? Or would they use both goaltenders? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. On the New Jersey front, Vanacek's the starter right now, has really bounced back from a rough year last year, and Schmidt as the backup has been quite good in his limited appearances as well. So the goaltending, I'm going to give the nod to Boston a little bit. Ullmark's had a ridiculous year, but I'm not overlooking Vanacek there either. And again, with the blue line, I'm kind of tempted to put that the same as the forward group. It has just worked so well for both teams. It is hard to make a choice. I would lean slightly towards Boston on the blue line, but it's just slightly. And then you get into injuries. And right now, Boston, there aren't any listed. So that's good news if you're a Bruins fan, that at this stage, it's a team that's in good health. And I think I think fighting their way through those early season injuries and getting all those wins when nobody, myself included, was expecting them has been remarkable. On the New Jersey front, they're winning despite some pretty major injuries. First off, Bernier's still on the list. There's debate about whether or not Bernier's coming back and when and all this, but they haven't needed Bernier to come back, so it's been okay. You've got Palat, who of course gets hurt early in the season. They haven't skipped a beat. And Andre Palat is a big playoff performer. He is an absolute star in the league, and when he comes back, they're going to have a bit of a headache because Holtz probably comes out, and I think Holtz has played pretty well so far since coming back into the lineup. Then you've got Blackwood, of course, one of their top 2 goaltenders, paid quite well. And so Schmid likely gets, sent back down and definitely takes some positives from this experience so far in the NHL, right? Their goaltending looks really solid now and for the future with Schmid, and of course Dawes is down there as well. And then you got Bastian, 4th liner. So once you get these guys back, barring any other injuries, the depth actually improves even more for New Jersey. This is not an easy one to figure out. I would say that, while the Bruins fan in me says, well, Boston overall is probably stronger. The problem with that is that before the season started, we did underestimate New Jersey at our own peril. And while there are those who expect them to fall back to, a more normal, less ridiculous record, same could be said of Boston as well. I don't know when that happens. I don't know if that happens soon. It is interesting to me that New Jersey's fantastic on the road, Boston's fantastic at home, and their records almost even out. The conferences, they have the same records against the other conference, and they have almost the same record against their own conference. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Between the Boston Bruins and the New Jersey Devils, which one is the stronger contender? Which lineup do you find more impressive? And again, I understand that lines are always in a blender. There's going to be changes with who's on what line. I just went with the lines that were on Daily Faceoff. I know they're close. But let me know which lineup impresses you more and which team you think has what it takes to go that full 82-game schedule and maybe contend for a Stanley Cup, keeping in mind that whoever finishes first overall, well, that's the end of that, right? So, anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.